He thought he had everything: wealth, power, control. But Nicholas Carter, the millionaire CEO, didn't know the one truth that could shatter his world. He was already a father. 5 years ago, the woman he once loved walked away in silence, hiding a secret she couldn't bear to share. She chose survival over heartbreak, raising their child alone while he buried himself in business empires and boardrooms. Now fate had other plans. One accidental encounter brought him face to face with the little boy who carried his eyes, his stubborn jawline, and the same fire in his spirit. Shock turned to regret, and regret into a desperate need to make things right. But would she ever forgive him for the years she suffered alone? And could a child accept a father who didn't even know he existed? This wasn't about power anymore. It was about love, forgiveness, and family. Nicholas Carter had always been the kind of man who planned every detail of his life. His suits were custom-made, his meetings scheduled to the minute, his empire growing without pause. To the world, he was the perfect picture of control, cold, untouchable, unstoppable. But deep down, there was one part of his past he never allowed himself to revisit. Her Sophia. 5 years ago, she had walked out of his life without explanation, without a single word of goodbye. One night she was there, curled against him with dreams in her eyes. The next morning, she was gone, and Nicholas buried the pain beneath long hours at the office and endless boardroom battles. He convinced himself she had been a weakness, a distraction he couldn't afford. Love was messy. It didn't fit into spreadsheets and quarterly goals. So he closed his heart and never looked back, or at least, that's what he told himself. Until tonight. The charity gala was nothing unusual for him. Expensive champagne, polished speeches, handshakes with politicians and investors. He was halfway through discussing a deal when something across the room caught his eye. A woman, standing alone near the corner, holding the hand of a little boy no older than 4. Her dress was simple, her hair tied back, her shoulders thinner than he remembered. But he would have known her anywhere. Sophia. Nicholas's heart slammed against his ribs. For a second, he thought he was imagining it. She looked different, tired, perhaps worn down by something heavier than time. And then his gaze shifted to the boy clinging to her hand. Nicholas froze. The child had dark curls, slightly unruly, the same shade Nicholas saw in his own mirror every morning. But it was the eyes that hit him hardest. Crystal blue, piercing, so undeniably familiar that his breath caught. It was like staring into a smaller version of himself. He couldn't move, couldn't think. The room spun around him, voices fading into noise. All he could see was Sophia and the boy. His boy. Without realizing it, Nicholas excused himself from the conversation and began to walk across the hall. Each step felt heavier than the last. Sophia looked up just as he approached, her face draining of color. Her hand tightened around the boy's as if she could shield him. Nicholas. Her voice trembled, soft but steady enough to hold back the flood of emotions in her eyes. Sophia, he said, his own voice rougher than he intended. His gaze flickered to the boy again. Is he? Sophia stiffened. For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of the boy tugging gently at her dress. Mommy, I'm thirsty, the child whispered. Nicholas's chest constricted. Mommy, not our child, not his son, just hers. Sophia crouched, smoothing the boy's hair. We'll get something to drink in a moment, Ethan, she said softly, kissing his forehead. Ethan. The name burned into Nicholas's mind like a brand. When Sophia rose to face him again, her eyes were hard, guarded. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I had every right to be here, Nicholas countered, trying to keep his voice steady. You disappeared, Sophia. No explanations, no calls, nothing. And now his gaze shifted back to Ethan. Now I find out you've been hiding this from me. Hiding him? Her eyes flashed with anger and pain. Don't, she hissed, her voice low but sharp. Don't stand there and act like you would have cared. You weren't ready, Nicholas. You weren't even capable of loving anyone but yourself. His jaw tightened. For a moment, he couldn't argue, because part of him knew she was right. Back then, he had been consumed by ambition, blind to anything else. But seeing that little boy, his son, made everything inside him crumble. I didn't know, Nicholas said hoarsely. You didn't give me a chance. You didn't deserve one, she whispered, her voice cracking. Ethan tugged at her hand again, glancing curiously at Nicholas. Mommy, who's that man? The question sliced through Nicholas like a blade. Sophia froze, her lips parting but no words coming out. Nicholas looked into Ethan's eyes, into the mirror of his own soul. And for the first time in years, the walls around his heart cracked wide open. He swallowed hard. forcing the words past the lump in his throat. I'm someone who should have been here a long time ago. Sophia's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. The boy's innocent gaze lingered, waiting for answers he couldn't yet understand. And Nicholas Carter, the man who once thought he had everything, realized in that moment that he had been missing the one thing that truly mattered: a family. Nicholas couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, the boy's face haunted him. Ethan, his son, the same smile, the same stubborn little frown Nicholas himself had as a child, but alongside the wonder was an ache, a sharp, suffocating guilt that clawed at his chest. He had missed it all: the sleepless nights, the first steps, the first words. All those irreplaceable moments, stolen. And the thief was not Sophia, it was him. The next morning, Nicholas did something his assistants had never seen before. He canceled meetings. Boardrooms and billion-dollar contracts no longer mattered. Only one thing did: Sophia. He found her small apartment on the edge of the city. It shocked him. The peeling paint, the narrow staircase, the flickering lights, far from the luxury she once had when she was with him. His heart clenched tighter. She had carried this burden alone. When she opened the door and saw him, her eyes widened in disbelief. "Nicholas, what are you doing here?" "I had to see you," he said, voice steady but low. "I had to see him." Sophia's grip on the door tightened. "You don't get to just walk back in." "I'm not asking for your forgiveness," Nicholas replied. His gaze softened. "I'm asking for a chance." Her eyes burned with unshed tears. "A chance? Do you even know what it took to raise him alone? I worked night shifts when I was pregnant. I fainted once in the hospital and had no one to call. Ethan was born crying for a father who never came. And now you think you can show up and fix it with words." Each sentence struck Nicholas like a hammer. He imagined her alone in a hospital room, clutching their newborn, praying for strength while he sat in some boardroom convincing himself emotions were a weakness. He exhaled shakily. "I can't change the past, Sophia, but I can change the future. For him, for you." Before she could respond, a small voice interrupted. "Mommy." Ethan stood in the hallway, clutching a toy car. His blue eyes blinked sleepily, then shifted to Nicholas. "That man again." Sophia bent down, brushing his hair back. "Go back to bed, sweetheart." But Ethan tilted his head, studying Nicholas. "Why does he look like me?" The question stole Nicholas's breath. He crouched to Ethan's level, forcing a smile that trembled with emotion. "Maybe because we're family," he whispered. Sophia stiffened, ready to intervene. But Ethan's curiosity overpowered her hesitation. "Family, you mean? Like a dad?" Nicholas's throat tightened. He swallowed hard, meeting his son's wide eyes. "Yes. I should have been here before. I should have never missed a single day with you." For a moment, silence reigned. Ethan blinked, processing. Then he clutched his toy tighter and ran back toward his room, muttering, "Mommy's my family." The door clicked shut. Sophia's voice cracked as she whispered, "Do you see now? He doesn't know you. He doesn't need you confusing him." Nicholas stood, his shoulders heavy but his resolve unshaken. "Then I'll wait. I'll earn his trust, no matter how long it takes." The following days became a test Nicholas had never faced before. Not in boardrooms, not in courtrooms. He began showing up quietly, taking Sophia's grocery bags from her hands when she struggled, fixing the broken lock on her apartment door, waiting outside Ethan's school just to catch a glimpse of him at first. Ethan avoided him, hiding behind his mother's legs. But slowly, curiosity won. One afternoon, while Sophia was distracted talking to a neighbor, Ethan approached him, toy car in hand. "Do you know how to race?" the boy asked, his tone bold but eyes uncertain. Nicholas smiled, a real unguarded smile he hadn't felt in years. He crouched down. "I don't. Maybe you can teach me." From that day forward, tiny cracks began to form in Ethan's walls. Nicholas learned the boy liked chocolate ice cream but hated vanilla, that he was scared of thunderstorms but brave enough to stand up for a friend at school, that he dreamed of flying airplanes, not building skyscrapers. Every new detail was a gift Nicholas cherished. But for Sophia, it was harder. Watching Nicholas with Ethan reopened wounds she had buried deep. She saw how icily Ethan laughed with him, how naturally Nicholas fell into the role of a father. And part of her ached, not for herself, but for the years lost. One evening, after Ethan had fallen asleep, Nicholas stayed behind. He looked around the small living room, the walls lined with crayon drawings and second-hand furniture. "You shouldn't have had to do this alone," he said quietly. Sophia's voice was sharp, though her eyes glistened. "But I did, and I survived." Nicholas nodded slowly. "I can't erase the pain I caused you. But I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can be the father he deserves. And if you let me, the man you deserved to. Her breath hitched. She turned away, torn between anger, fear, and something she didn't want to name, hope. That night, as Nicholas stood outside under the dim streetlight, he whispered to himself, I won't fail them again. For the first time in his life, Nicholas Carter wasn't fighting for a company, he was fighting for his family. Weeks passed, and Nicholas Carter found himself in unfamiliar territory. Gone were the days where his calendar revolved around business meetings, mergers, and billion-dollar negotiations. Now, his schedule revolved around a little boy with messy curls and a smile that could undo him in seconds. Ethan at first. The child was cautious, keeping Nicholas at arm's length, but day by day, wall by wall, trust began to grow. It wasn't the grand gestures that won Ethan over, it was the small ones, Nicholas kneeling on the floor to help build toy castles, listening intently to stories about dragons and superheroes, laughing when Ethan smeared ice cream on his expensive suit without apology. But the true test was Sophia. Every time she looked at Nicholas, she saw the man who had broken her once, a man who left her to carry a child alone, who forced her to choose strength when all she wanted was someone to lean on. Yet now, she also saw something she hadn't expected. Change. He was gentler, patient, willing to sit on the floor of her cramped apartment without complaint, willing to trade leather chairs and crystal glasses for crayon drawings and paper cups of juice. One evening, it happened. It had been raining all day. The thunder scared Ethan, and he clutched his blanket tightly, refusing to sleep. Sophia tried everything: lullabies, stories, warm milk. Nothing worked. Finally, Nicholas stepped in, sitting on the edge of the bed. Do you know, he began softly, that when I was your age, I was afraid of thunderstorms too. Ethan peeked at him from under the blanket. You were? Nicholas nodded. Yes, but my father told me something. He said thunder is just the clouds playing drums. And lightning, that's the sky taking pictures of us. Ethan's eyes widened. Really? Nicholas smiled. Really? So, if you're scared, just remember the sky is watching, but only because you're so brave. For the first time that night, Ethan giggled. The tension in his little body eased. He crawled into Nicholas's arms, resting his head against his chest. And then, in a voice so small, yet so powerful, Ethan whispered, Good night, Dad. The word shattered Nicholas. His throat tightened, his vision blurred, and he wrapped Ethan closer, pressing a kiss to his hair. It was a moment he would never forget. The world's wealthiest CEO finally felt rich. Later, when Ethan was asleep, Sophia stood quietly in the doorway, tears glistening in her eyes. Nicholas rose slowly, walking toward her. You heard him, he said softly. His voice trembled with awe. He called me Dad. Sophia's lips quivered. Don't make promises you can't keep. Nicholas, he's already lost one father. He can't lose another. Nicholas reached for her hand, his touch hesitant but full of sincerity. I swear to you, Sophia, I won't leave. Not him, not you, not again. She searched his face, looking for the man she had once loved, the one she thought she had lost forever. And for the first time, she saw him. Not the ruthless CEO, not the untouchable billionaire, just Nicholas, a man desperate to make things right. Her voice broke. Do you know what it took to survive without you? He squeezed her hand gently. And do you know what it's taking me to live without you? I thought I had everything, Sophia, but I was wrong. My world means nothing without my family. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Only the rain tapped softly against the window. Finally, Sophia whispered, If you really mean it, then prove it. Not with money, not with gifts. Prove it by staying. Nicholas's eyes burned with determination. I will. I'll trade every deal, every skyscraper, every dollar, just to be here. With you, with him. Sophia's tears spilled over. But this time, they weren't only from pain. They were from the fragile thread of hope knitting itself back together. The story didn't end with a kiss or instant forgiveness. Healing was slow, trust fragile. But for the first time in years, Sophia allowed herself to believe. Nicholas wasn't just saying the words, he was living them. And Ethan, he had found his hero. Not in comic books, not in fairy tales, but in the father who had finally come home. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Nicholas and Sophia's journey reminds us that mistakes don't define us. It's the courage to make things right that truly matters. Ethan's innocent voice calling Dad changed everything. And it shows us how powerful love and forgiveness can be. If you believe family deserves second chances, if you've ever wished for a lost love to return, or if you simply want to see more emotional stories like this, then make sure to subscribe now. Hit the like button to show your love for this story, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that hope always finds a way back. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next heart-touching tale. Your support keeps these stories alive.